Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a crucial topic for all you car enthusiasts and potential buyers out there. SUVs to avoid in 2025. If you're in the market for a new SUV in 2025, you'll want to steer clear of these 6 models. We're going to break down the reasons why these SUVs might not be the best choices, from reliability concerns to outdated features and everything in between. Alright, let's kick things off with our first SUV to avoid in 2025, the suggested SUV1. Now, on the surface, this SUV might seem tempting. I mean, just look at it. It's got that aggressive styling and a spacious interior. But trust me, there are some serious red flags here. First off, reliability has been a consistent issue with the suggested SUV1. Consumer Reports and J.D. Power have both given it below-average scores for dependability. Speaking of lemons, let's talk about the suggested SUV1's engine. It's known for being underpowered and sluggish. In a world where fuel efficiency is becoming increasingly important, this SUV guzzles gas like it's going out of style. And don't even get me started on the infotainment system. So, unless you're a glutton for punishment and enjoy frequent trips to the mechanic, I'd steer clear of the suggested SUV1 in 2025. Moving right along, let's talk about the suggested SUV2, another SUV that didn't quite make the cut for 2025. Now I know what you're thinking, suggested SUV2, that's a classic. What could possibly be wrong with it? But the automotive landscape is changing rapidly, and the suggested SUV2 is simply stuck in the past. For starters, the design is beyond dated. The interior is equally dated, with cheap materials, uncomfortable seats, and a general lack of modern amenities. But the biggest issue with the suggested SUV2 in 2025 is its lack of safety features. We live in an age where advanced safety tech should be standard on all new cars, but the suggested SUV2 lags woefully behind in this department. So, unless you're looking for a time capsule to transport you back to the early days of SUVs, I'd recommend giving the suggested SUV2 a pass in 2025. Our next contender for SUVs to avoid in 2025 is the suggested SUV3. And let me tell you, this one pains me a little bit because the suggested SUV3 used to be a decent option, but sadly, it's become a victim of its own success. Over the years, the suggested SUV3 has garnered a lot of attention and praise, which has unfortunately led to its downfall. The suggested SUV3 has a loyal following, and the automaker knows it. They've capitalized on this loyalty, but not in a good way. They've been able to get away with charging a premium price for a vehicle that simply doesn't justify its cost. The price tag is steep, and what you get in return is far from satisfactory. For the price of a suggested SUV3, you could get a much better equipped and more modern SUV from a competitor. These alternatives offer more advanced features, better performance, and superior reliability. But the price gouging isn't the only issue here. The suggested SUV3 has also been plagued by quality control issues in recent years. The suggested SUV3 has also been plagued by quality control issues in recent years. From rattling dashboards to faulty electronics, it seems like suggested SUV3 owners are constantly finding themselves back at the dealership for repairs. From rattling dashboards to faulty electronics, it seems like suggested SUV3 owners are constantly finding themselves back at the dealership for repairs. These frequent trips to the service center can be both time-consuming and costly. The suggested SUV3 might have a fancy badge on the hood, but underneath it all, it's an overpriced and underwhelming SUV that you're better off avoiding in 2025. Save your money and look elsewhere for a more reliable and cost-effective option. Let's talk about the suggested SUV4, an SUV that promised so much but ultimately delivers so little. On paper, the suggested SUV4 has a lot going for it. It's got a powerful engine, a sleek design, and a long list of standard features. But here's the thing about this suggested SUV4, it's all smoke and mirrors. The execution simply doesn't live up to the hype. Take the engine, for example. Sure, it's got plenty of horsepower, but it's also incredibly thirsty, and the transmission is jerky and unresponsive. And that sleek design I mentioned, it comes at the expense of visibility. Good luck seeing out of the rear window or changing lanes with confidence. The materials are cheap, the build quality is questionable, and the ergonomics are all over the place. It's marketed as both a sporty SUV and a family hauler, but it fails to excel in either category. So, unless you're a fan of style over substance and disappointment on four wheels, I'd recommend avoiding the suggested SUV4 in 2025. Alright, we're getting close to the end of our list of SUVs to avoid in 2025, but trust me, the worst is yet to come. If you thought the previous entries were bad, brace yourself for what's next. And our penultimate entry is none other than the dreaded suggested SUV5. This vehicle has managed to earn a notorious reputation for all the wrong reasons. Now I'm going to be brutally honest here, the suggested SUV5 is the epitome of a poorly conceived and poorly executed vehicle. It's almost as if the designers and engineers were on completely different pages. It's almost as if the automaker took all the worst aspects of an SUV and crammed them into one hideous, unreliable, and overpriced package. The result is a vehicle that fails on almost every front. Let's start with the design. I'm all for unique and unconventional styling, but the suggested SUV5 is just plain ugly. It looks like a melted bar of soap with wheels, and that's putting it kindly. It looks like a melted bar of soap with wheels. The design choices are baffling and leave much to be desired. And the interior is no better. It's cramped, uncomfortable, and filled with hard plastics that feel like they were sourced from a children's toy factory. The materials used are subpar, making the cabin feel cheap and uninviting. But the real deal breaker with the suggested SUV5 is its reliability, or lack thereof. Owners have reported countless issues from engine failures to electrical problems. So, unless you're a masochist who enjoys frequent trips to the repair shop and watching your investment go up in smoke, avoid the suggested SUV5 like the plague in 2025. Trust me, your wallet and your sanity will thank you. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, the grand finale, the piece de resistance of terrible SUVs to avoid in 2025, the suggested SUV6. This vehicle has managed to set a new low in the automotive world, a feat that is both impressive and horrifying. Folks, this SUV is in a league of its own when it comes to sheer awfulness. It's not just bad, it's a masterclass in how not to build a car. It's the automotive equivalent of a dumpster fire wrapped in a train wreck. Imagine the worst car you've ever driven and then multiply that by 10. Where do I even begin? The problems are so numerous and varied that it's hard to know where to start. The suggested SUV6 is the result of an automaker taking every bad decision, every shortcut, and every cost-cutting measure imaginable and cramming them into a vehicle that somehow made it past the drawing board. It's almost as if they set out to create the worst car possible. The design is an assault on the senses. It's as if the designers were actively trying to make it as unattractive as possible. It looks like a reject from a Transformers movie that got run over by a steamroller. You can't help but wonder what they were thinking. The interior is a symphony of cheap plastics, mismatched panels, and uncomfortable seats. It's a place where comfort goes to die. But the real horror show begins when you start driving the suggested SUV6. It's a nightmare on wheels. The engine is gutless, the transmission is confused, the handling is sloppy, and the brakes feel like they're made of wood. It's a driving experience that will make you question your life choices. And to top it all off, the suggested SUV6 is ridiculously overpriced. It's as if they're charging you extra for the privilege of owning such a disaster. So, unless you're looking for a surefire way to waste your money, risk your safety, and become the laughingstock of your neighborhood, avoid the suggested SUV6 at all costs in 2025. Trust me, your wallet and your sanity will thank you. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more car reviews and buying tips. Let us know in the comments if there are any other SUVs you think should be avoided in 2025. See you in the next video.